English. Here's the English. And when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. I've read so many Bible commentaries, they all say the same thing. This is World War III. This is an epic war in response to the appearance of the Messiah. This is what all the Bible commentaries say, because they say the first horseman is the Antichrist instead of Christ. This is someone pretending to be the Jesus, pretending to be the returned God. And the second horseman is the response to the conqueror of the first horseman. Guys, it's far from the truth. There's no connection here. This is an absolutely independent event that has nothing to do with the pharmaceutical companies. It has nothing to do at all with the medical stuff that went down in 2020, 2021. None of that. It's an independent event. But it's caused by the very same people, because the very same people who own the pharmaceutical companies are the same ones that are orchestrating all these sleeper cells being put in all these countries. And basically what you have with the first horseman is the first seal is the white horseman. It's basically a worldwide event, which is a broken seal. Each seal has to be a worldwide event. It has to involve the majority for it to qualify as the breaking of a seal. It can't be an isolated incident that happened in one or two little places. It's got to be something that we all agree on affected most of the world. And we can agree that the whole COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdowns, all that, all the vax stuff, every bit of that affected the entire world. So travel restrictions, all that. Now, was the entire world affected? No. I mean, now we're talking semantics. You know, Texans and Californians are both Americans, but Texans aren't Californians. So it's the same thing applies here. So the four horsemen are world events, and they're the first four seals. And the first one was basically something that was spread rapidly. That's what a horse does. Spread rapidly with bow and arrow, poisons victims, empowering the poisoners, the crown, Coronis. And these poisoners are represented by the color white. So I found all that very interesting. And I say all that because Apollo is the destroyer. This is the role he plays in the book of Revelation. He's the destroyer. But in Greek mythology, Apollo was the god of prophecy, which changes the whole game here.
Yeah.
Prophecy is a program. It's something we're living through. We're living out. We are supposed to decode the signs to understand where we are in the program. But we're not to fear these things, because fear makes us a participant. I believe I'm going to be watching most of the events of the apocalypse on the television. I'm not going to be participating in them. You understand?
Yeah.
Are you ready for the decode on the second seal? We just reviewed the first seal.
Yeah.
So I have to preface this with what Funkyprepper and I just discussed. We're talking about sleeper cells, men of military age who have been put in all these Western nations. They have been put in London. They have been put in England. They have been put in Wales, in Cornwall. They have been put in Scotland. They have been put in Ireland. They have been put all over the United States. They have been put in Canada. Many are coming up through the southern border of Mexico as we speak right now. They have been put in Norway, Denmark, Sweden. They have been put in France, Italy. This is by design. What we are seeing is the introduction and financing of a fifth column that is being put there for a very definitive purpose. That purpose is going to be short-lived. It's going to happen. It's going to take off. It's going to be ubiquitous. It's going to involve the entire world, because these cells have also been sent in China. These cells have been sent in India. And listen, this is not an attempt to take over. That's not what's going to happen here. Maybe the participants have been brainwashed into thinking that they're a part of a larger takeover type deal, but that's not. This is not what we have. And I'm going to break down this Greek. It's really interesting. The English takes away from the meaning. I went deep into the meaning of the Greek in this. I'm going to reveal it to you now. Here's what the King James Version says today of Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. I'm going to read it straight off my computer right here. This is the verse you're familiar with. And then I'm going to break it down, and then I'm going to read the verse over according to the Greek breakdown. And it's going to be something fundamentally different. These 4 horses are 4 independent events that are brought in that are necessary to unlock the portal that releases Apollo. So the red is not red at all, my friends. Red is an afterthought added in by the English translators. Now, you can get red from it, but the Greek word is poros. It's a hard word for me to say, but it's poros. And it literally means of the color of fire. Because it means of the color of fire, translators often just say red because it sounds good, red horse, but that's not what it says. It literally says fiery horse. Just like in the book of Revelation, later on in chapters 14 and 19, it specifically says poros dragon.
Yes.
It's not red dragon. It's fiery, flaming dragon in book of Revelation. The same Greek word is used to describe the dragon later in the same context where the English translators put the word red, where it's not necessarily red. The color of fire is very descriptive. It allows you to see, okay, fire. It's describing flickering flames, yellow and orange, and maybe there's some red in there. The Greek is very, very instructive. There's a lot more meaning to the Greek than there is in English.
It's interesting when you said about Dresden earlier as well, when that got completely firebombed in the World War II in Germany.
Yes, sir. So this is what it's talking about. The poros. This is a horse, meaning a world, an event that rushes upon the world scene, catches you by surprise. All right, this is an event that happens in multiple different places involving fire, the color of fire. So now, to take peace from the earth, in the Greek, that's 2 different words, and the connotations are unrest, disturbance, taking the peace of mind, removing welfare, causing instability. And the Greek word for earth is actually, in English, it was said earth, but that's not it. That's not what it is in Greek. In Greek, it's literally a reference to the inhabitants of an area, the inhabitants of a region, the inhabitants of a country. This is what's really said. So this event is going to basically create disturbance, unrest, remove the welfare, create instabilities to inhabitants of countries. In English, it says kill one another, and in Greek, it's pretty close to put to death by violence. That's different than war. You understand? All the Christian commentaries are all pushing. This is World War III. This is the great war that follows the appearance of the Antichrist. But that's not what we find in these seals. That's not what we find in the Greek. That interpretation of Judeo-Christianity seems to be very, very wrong with the first seal. Of countries. In English, it says kill one another, and in Greek, it's pretty close to put to death by violence. That's different than war. You understand? All the Christian commentaries are all pushing. This is World War III. This is the great war that follows the appearance of the Antichrist. But that's not what we find in these seals. That's not what we find in the Greek. That interpretation of Judeo-Christianity seems to be very, very wrong with the first seal. So I'm going to show you that it's very, very wrong with the second seal as well. So we have at the end of this sentence that the peace is going to be taken away by a great sword. Here's a real problem. the English translators were very manipulative here.
A real sword.
That's a real sword. I got one close, similar to it. But I'm going to tell you now, my brother, that's a nice one too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That look, is that a Reaper blade?
That is a twin-handed katana from Cold Steel.
Oh, is it Cold Steel Company? Because I have Reaper weapons. I have weapons made by the company called Reaper.
Yeah, it's quite big, so it's hard, I can't even get it in the shop. But yeah.
So okay, listen,
carry on, bro.
The only problem, Funky, is that the Greek does not say great sword. Only the English does. So I'm gonna break it down. So it says great sword, but the syntax is inverted. In Greek, sword comes first, then the word great comes next, but it's not great. Let me explain. The word sword in the Greek context is describing, it's pronounced makira. And for those of you who know Greek, maybe you can correct me, but it's makaira or something like that. It's a cognate of makira and machete. And in Greek, it describes a very short sword or a dagger. That's not a weapon of war. That's a weapon of an assassin. So in Homer's Iliad, the exact same word is used to describe a knife. A knife. I read that in a lexicon today. It blew my mind. So anyway, if a large sword was indicated in the Greek, it would have never used this word because the word it would use was rhomphaia. Rhomphaia or rhomphaia. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's Greek, and that's for the long sword. It's like a Thracian sword, a scimitar. That's for what you're holding. That right there in Greek is a rhomphaia, the big sword. What's being described here in Greek is a weapon, a knife, a dagger. So that's really interesting. So we have to equate that with small arms because this is a symbol. We're not talking about APCs. We're not talking about military grade weaponry here. We're not talking about missile systems and fire and forget systems and phalanx systems. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about small arms.
Pistols and rifles, yeah.
So now the Greek is real specific. And here's further proof because the word great in English was put before sword, which is deceptive. That's not how the Greek syntax is. In the Greek verse, the word great comes after sword, and it has a different connotation. It means great in the wide scale sense, meaning we're not talking about a singular event. We're talking about multiple events covering multiple areas. So it connotes an abundance. It connotes, it's also, here's what's really, really curious. This Greek word that's descriptive of take something going over in a wide sense is also connoting arrogance and fierceness. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What's being conveyed is the effect of the daggers will be great. It's not great sword as in a long sword. It's that the effect of small arms will be highly effective over a large area. This is what's being conveyed by that. It was completely changed by the English translators. Okay, this is the second worldwide event that is supposed to wake up those who are going to wake up. This is the second seal. This is it. And when he opened the second seal, I heard the second living being say, understand and discern. And there went out another event upon the world that was fiery, and power was given to the perpetrators to sow discord, disturbances, create instability, removing peace from the countries, and to kill by violence with small arms over large areas. It's as simple as that. That's the Greek. That's the Greek. That is what we're seeing being prepared right now with all these cells being put in position and financed. They can't stay there forever. They can't stay in hotels. They can't stay in motels. They can't stay in all these different places. Sooner or later, populations will wake up. They have to act. And I believe they got to do that pretty soon.
Do you know what they said about the hotels in the UK where these migrants are in? The majority of them were all leased for 2 years, 24 months. And that started March time this year. So you're looking at 2 years what they are being told about these hotels.
So we're essentially looking for an Order 66 event. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
This is what we're waiting on right now. The next big worldwide event is going to be Order 66, where all these cells are activated at the exact same time, and the news is gonna blow this up because that's what they do, fear programming, and they're gonna have everybody believing it's much bigger than it is, and it's not, and they're still not enough to take over any country. Hell, they're gonna have a problem in Houston. Our gangs in Houston have enough firepower to fight this off, but But I'm just saying, there's 5.5 million people in Houston area, and almost everybody's armed to the teeth out here in Texas. So yeah, they're going to have problems in a lot of conservative areas, but there's going to be places where it's going to be a really big deal. And small arms includes not just not just the knife, not just the pistol, not just the assault rifle, but also IEDs. All like Boston bombings, all kinds of stuff like that. But as far as jets, tanks, APCs, that's not what's being described here. What's being described here is worldwide terrorism, all at the exact same time. This is what will take peace from the earth. This is what will create instability, and this is what will satisfy the death toll and the description here. And it's not World War III. It's what's used to justify World War III.
A great conflict is about to break out in the Middle East. Millions will attempt to march to Israel. I saw like 1 million soldier march, but the Lord will stop them in their tracks once they cross the dry river basins. That's what Spirit revealed to me this morning. Iran, Syria, Iraq, and several others are gathering in secret. They have been since 2020. Planning and orchestrating a worldwide attack on the world, mainly on Americans, American allies, and Christians. Beware, says Spirit. Protect your churches. Protect your synagogues, for they will be coming in numbers and heading right to your doorsteps. Creepy. Oh, I got that. Beware to our friends in New York City. And beware of other big cities globally, Chicago, Paris, London, Los Angeles, and many others. They have crossed your borders, says Spirit, as we know. And not only that, that's what Spirit declared this morning, their top military leaders and generals are hiding within your land already. The final troops are coming across borders now. So the last of them are coming across now. Yeah, because they're not going to be able to come across much in many countries soon. The final troops are coming across the borders now. They have almost all arrived. The time is closing in. Keep your family safe. Stay indoors when the battle begins. And again, have what you need on hand to last at least a few weeks, preferably a few months if you can. As many things will become challenging to find, kind of like it was trying to find toilet paper during 2020. So if you had a hard time finding anything that you needed in 2020, then you better start stocking up on that right now.
Ever since I was a young boy, I've been interested in blondes, but I've mostly been repelled because they are stupid white women who do not know how to think. One day while I was playing Toho, I saw an image of a peculiar blonde with a witch attire. I immediately fell in love. The long, luscious hair, the dominating yet cute attire, the smug, sunder yet cute personality all formed into one perfect being by the name of Marisa Kirizame. And so I began my search for Marisa. I played all the Toho games with all the spell cards just so I could the most out of Her Majesty. I searched all of Buru for images of her, just so I could get to see her beautiful tomboyish body. You see, Cerno is not the tomboyish girl in love. Marisa is. She is in love with me. Yet the reality barrier separates us like Romeo and Juliet. It is the cruel fate that is reality that separates such star-crossed lovers from each other. Only something so powerful as the reality barrier can separate me from my dear Marissa. For it is my true fate to be married to my lover. On dark days where there is no sun, I shall caress Marissa and tell her everything is all right. On bright days where there is naught but bliss, I will stay by her side to share the bliss infinite-fold like two mirrors in proximity. On the adventurous days we will steal what we wish. Some days we will steal diamonds, some days we will steal virginities. And always we will steal our hearts, each other's hearts. For it is the true love that does not brag, it only contains itself infinitely. Such is the love of me and Marissa Kirissamai.
So anyway, there's a lot of this, but they did that. The Third World War was between Christianity and Islam, and it was all published 130, 140 years ago. This is not even a secret. The playbook's been known. But in order to get the Western world to absolutely rise up in arms and to take up that nationalist, take up that pride, and all come together to fight a common enemy, it's going to take a catalyst. And Funkyprepper, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the elitist prepare the catalyst. That's what all this is about. It's all about putting all these cells out. This isn't a condemnation of Islam. This isn't a condemnation of people from the Middle East. It's not. This is cultures, races, nationalities being used as pawns by elitists. A lot of them are criminals, yeah, but a lot of them are just brainwashed into the paradigm they were raised to believe in. Islam or whatever it is they believed. But most of them are Islamic, and they're being put in these countries deliberately. And you're right, they're military age. Every bit of this is by design. It's not just to create an imbalance. This is a deliberate plant of a fifth column in all the Western nations. That's exactly what this is. It's you got to call a spade, and it's exactly, precisely what is needed to basically have the Western nations come together and declare war on the Middle East. It's exactly what is needed, and it's all by design. We're being played. This is going to play out. This is going to. We're just watching it unfold, but we're not going to change it. This is all part of the program. This is such long-term planning. The collective is going to follow through with this. They're easy to read. It's easy to see.